Mouse Rebel News fans, there is a journalist for Sun Media who, I have a particular distaste for, called Ezra Levant. Ezra Levant is a conservative blowhard, meaning he's a loudmouth, arrogant, pretty much a proto-fascist, without really acknowledging that he is. Okay, all that aside, he got himself involved in the whole CBC, Quebecois media thing that was going on. A little while ago, a Canadian show called This Hour is 22 Minutes surprised Toronto Mayor Rob Ford at his home with a surprise interview, like they do everybody else. And he threw a fit, he insulted, he called 911 on the media, and the police didn't show up because it's not an emergency and he should be an adult and handle it. And he made a whole bunch of accusations that were proven to be untrue by the footage of it that was released. He also insulted the 911 operator, calling her a bitch. He then later denied it, and then he had the head of the police, the Toronto Police Services Board, come out and say, I listened to the tape and he did not say that. Yet he has refused to release the tape that would actually prove he was telling the truth, and he will not do that. So, in other words, he's a liar. Because the one thing that would prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he didn't say, he will not release. Now, Ezra Levant decided, as he is described by some media, being a fiery TV host, which means he's an asshole to get attention, not really any different than Howard Stern or Glenn Beck is. He goes to the CBC building, and he walks in, and he goes up to the head of media relations and the Ottawa-based CEO of the company, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the state-owned media, which the QMI has been trying to destroy. QMI at the behest of its corporate directors, both Francois Bertrand, who's the former head of the CRTC, and Brian Mulroney, the former Prime Minister. So he goes in there and he tries to create a whole big hoopla and cause this scene and an incident, and they called the police on him. And he goes, and he comes back whining, well, yeah, you complain you complain Rob Ford calling the police on you, and then you do it to me. This is a public building. This is private. This is public property. I have a right to be here. Now, this is where I pwned the shite out of him. 1. You are on private property, not public property. The CBC headquarters is private property. There's a little thing you need to look up called the Ontario Trespass Act. But being that you are a fiery host and probably caused this entire incident to try to launch your show on Sun TV, the channel that has just debuted and nobody's watching, and you're supposed to be the headline performer on it. So it's pretty much just to get attention for that. The CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, it is a crown corporation, which means anything it owns is private property, including the building. You were kicked out from private property. Now, here's what they could have done to you, but they didn't. You were on private property. You refused to leave. That is why the police were called. You could have been charged on the Ontario Trespass Act for failure to leave upon request. That is illegal. You have committed a crime. You are a criminal. You broke the law to get attention. Not to make a statement, because you could have gone on your television show and made a statement. Instead, you decided to break the law just to get attention for your television show that nobody is watching. Now, as for your comparison to that being the same thing as Rob Ford, actually, while someone's home is private property, what you don't understand, the outside of it, the front of it, is called public access, meaning that there is no physical barrier preventing entrance to the driveway or the sidewalk in which case the sidewalk or the first 8 feet of the property is city property, that would be public property. The first 8 feet of Mayor Rob Ford's home is public property. Now, the CBC people from This Hour 22 Minutes were on public property. Once they'd crossed onto the larger part of the driveway, then they were on private property. And they did leave when they were requested. So for you, Ezra Levant, you law breaking to get attention for your television show that nobody's watching, learn the Ontario Trespass Act. You are a pathetic tool.